The marble was cold against Blanca's palms as she gripped the railing, her emerald green dress pulling tight across her swollen belly. 8 months pregnant, and she still climbed these stairs like she had something to prove. Marcus stood 3 steps above her, his face twisted in a sneer that didn't match the tailored suit or the gala smiles he'd been flashing all night. The Obsidian Hotel's grand staircase stretched behind him, gold-trimmed banisters, crystal chandeliers, the kind of place where deals were made and reputations polished. None of that mattered now. "You shouldn't have come here," he hissed, voice low enough that the crowd below wouldn't hear. His new fiancée, a senator's daughter, was somewhere in the ballroom laughing with people who mattered. Blanca didn't, not anymore. "I just need you to sign the papers. Marcus." She held them out, the child support agreement trembling slightly in her hand. "For the baby, that's all." His eyes flicked to her belly, then back to her face. Something dark flashed across his features, panic, disgust, calculation. "You think you can ruin everything I've built? With that?" Before she could answer, his hand shot out. Not a slap, a shove. Hard, right in the chest. Time stretched. Blanca felt the world tip backward, her heels slipping on the polished stone. Air rushed past her ears. Her arms flailed, one hand clutching the papers, the other flying to protect the curve of her stomach. The scream tore out of her throat, raw and desperate, as gravity took over. Marcus's face hovered above, eyes wide, mouth curled in something ugly and triumphant. He thought no one was watching. He was wrong. From the shadowed mezzanine above, a figure stepped forward. Tall. Immaculate black suit, black shirt, no tie. Hair slicked back sharp enough to cut glass. Ink climbed the side of his neck in intricate, dark patterns. A dragon scales, maybe, or something older and meaner. Beomseok. Kim didn't blink, didn't flinch, just watched with those predator-still eyes as Blanca tumbled, but he moved faster than a man that controlled should. One moment she was falling, the next a strong arm hooked around her waist, pulling her hard against a solid chest just before her body hit the stairs. The papers fluttered to the marble like white petals. Her breath left her in a gasp, not from pain, but from the sudden stop. From the warmth of the man now holding her like she weighed nothing. Beomseok's gaze lifted slowly to Marcus, who had gone pale as death under the chandelier light. The air in the entire atrium shifted. Guests froze mid-conversation, phones lowered. Even the string quartet in the corner missed a note. Marcus took one stumbling step back. She slipped. Beomseok didn't speak. He didn't have to. The way he looked at Marcus said everything. I know. And you just made the worst mistake of your life." He adjusted his hold on Blanca, one hand steadying her back, the other hovering protectively near her belly without crossing the line. His voice, when it came, was low and calm. Danger wrapped in silk. "I've got you." Blanca looked up at him, heart hammering, breath shallow. She didn't know this man. But in that moment, with Marcus still gaping above them and the whole gala watching, she believed him. Welcome to the dark side of romance. Where the fall isn't the end, it's just the beginning. If you're already hooked, hit that subscribe button to see how this unfolds. Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. I'll shout you out and say hello, because I love knowing how far this story is reaching. Let's watch Blanca rise together. The marble was cold against Blanca's palms as she gripped the railing, her emerald green dress pulling tight across her swollen belly. 8 months pregnant, and she still climbed these stairs like she had something to prove. Marcus stood 3 steps above her, his face twisted in a sneer that didn't match the tailored suit or the gala smiles he'd been flashing all night. The Obsidian Hotel's grand staircase stretched behind him, gold-trimmed banisters, crystal chandeliers. So like the kind of place where deals were made and reputations polished. None of that mattered now. "You shouldn't have come here," he hissed, voice low enough that the crowd below wouldn't hear. His new fiancée, a senator's daughter, was somewhere in the ballroom laughing with people who mattered. Blanca didn't, not anymore. "I just need you to sign the papers, Marcus." She held them out, the child support agreement trembling slightly in her hand. "For the baby, that's all." His eyes flicked to her belly, then back to her face. Something dark flashed across his features. Panic, disgust, calculation. You think you can ruin everything I've built? With that? Before she could answer, his hand shot out. Not a slap. A shove. Hard. Right in the chest. Time stretched. Blanca felt the world tip backward, her heels slipping on the polished stone. Air rushed past her ears. Her arms flailed, one hand clutching the papers, the other flying to protect the curve of her stomach. The scream tore out of her throat, raw and desperate, as gravity took over. Marcus's face hovered above, eyes wide, mouth curled in something ugly and triumphant. He thought no one was watching. He was wrong. From the shadowed mezzanine, Seok Kim stepped forward. Tall, immaculate black suit, black shirt, no tie. Hair slicked back sharp enough to cut glass. Ink climbed his neck in dark, intricate patterns, dragon scales winding up to his jaw. He didn't blink, just watched with eyes that missed nothing. Then he moved. In a blur too fast for the stunned crowd to track, he was down the side stairs and across the landing. One arm hooked around Blanca's waist just before her back hit the marble. The impact jarred through both of them, but he took the force, twisting so she landed against his chest instead of the stone. Paper scattered like snow. Her breath came in sharp gasps. The baby kicked hard, as if protesting the sudden stop. Seok's gaze lifted to Marcus, cold and absolute. Marcus froze, sweat beading on his forehead under the chandelier light. Guests murmured, phones rising. Then the atrium doors opened and 6 men in black suits moved in. Silent, coordinated, cutting through the crowd like shadows. Not hotel security, Seok's men. Marcus stumbled back another step. She slipped? Seok didn't answer. He simply looked at Marcus the way a wolf studies a rabbit that's already caught. Marcus bolted. He shoved past a waiter, disappeared down a side corridor. 2 of Seok's men followed without a word. Seok turned his attention to Blanca. His arm was still around her, steady, careful. Up close he smelled like winter air and something expensive. His voice was low, almost gentle. Are you hurt? She shook her head, though her legs felt like water. The baby. He nodded once. We'll check. Then, to one of his men, Car, now. Before she could protest, he lifted her, effortlessly, and carried her through a private door the crowd hadn't noticed before. The last thing she saw of the gala was the scattered papers on the marble and Marcus's empty space on the stairs. Blanca woke to the soft beep of monitors and the scent of clean linen. Not a hospital. The room was too quiet, too luxurious. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed the city glittering far below. The bed was wide, the sheets silk. An IV dripped into her arm, and a private nurse adjusted something on a sleek machine. She sat up too fast, hand going to her belly. Still round, still moving, the door opened. Seok stepped in, still in the same black suit, though the jacket was gone now. The tattoo on his neck seemed to shift when he moved. He carried a tablet, expression unreadable. You're awake, he said, simple, calm. Where am I? My home, the medical floor. He pulled a chair close and sat, movements controlled. Your doctor is one of the best in the city. The baby is fine. You have bruising, mild concussion. Nothing broken. Blanca stared at him. Why did you help me? He considered the question. Because he tried to kill you in my building. The words landed heavy. She swallowed. Marcus? Gone, for now. He set the tablet on the bedside table. I'm Seok Kim. I figured. Everyone in certain circles knew the name, even if they pretended not to. Chilsong Syndicate, the man who owned half the city's shadows. He didn't smile, didn't need to. You're safe here. She wasn't sure she's believed that yet. The nurse returned with warm broth and crackers. Seok stood to leave, but Blanca's voice stopped him. Wait. She picked at the blanket. I don't have anywhere else to go. He turned back. Those dark eyes studied her face. Then stay. Just like that? Just like that. She should have been afraid, should have questioned his motives, But the truth was simpler and sadder. She'd been afraid for months already. Of Marcus, of being alone, of failing the life growing inside her. At least this fear came with silk sheets and someone who'd actually caught her when she fell. 3 days later, Blanca sat in the penthouse living room, wrapped in a cashmere robe that probably cost more than her old car. Rain streaked the windows. The nurse had cleared her that morning, baby strong, mother recovering well. No reason to stay, except she hadn't left. Byung-suk found her there, staring at the storm. He set down a tray. Tea, fruit, those little almond cookies she'd mentioned liking once. "You're observant," she said. "It's how I stay alive." She smiled despite herself. Then the smile faded. "You don't know anything about me." "I know enough. You know what Marcus showed you. The pregnant ex-girlfriend, the inconvenience." She turned the teacup in her hands. "But you don't know where I came from." Byung-seok settled into the chair across from her, waiting. Blanca took a breath. "I'm from a little town outside Austin. The kind of place where everybody knows everybody, and nothing ever changes. My daddy worked construction. Mama cleaned houses." She paused. "They were good people, proud people, taught me to stand tall even when life knocked me down." "Were? Car accident. 3 years ago. Black ice on Highway 71. Her voice stayed steady, but her hands tightened on the cup. "I was in college, business degree, working 2 jobs to pay for it because they'd already given everything to get me there." Byung-seok said nothing, but something shifted in his expression. "After they died, I finished the degree out of spite. Moved to the city because staying in Texas felt like drowning." She laughed, but it was hollow. "Met Marcus at a company event. He was charming, successful, said he loved my accent, my small-town authenticity. Made me feel like I'd finally made it somewhere. And then I got pregnant." She met his eyes. "He changed overnight. Suddenly I wasn't authentic. I was an embarrassment, a liability, small-town trash trying to trap him." Her hand moved to her belly. "He wanted me to get rid of her. Said he'd pay for it, pay for me to disappear. When I refused—" She didn't need to finish. He'd seen what happened when she refused. "My parents taught me that family is everything," Blanca said quietly. "That you fight for the people you love even when it's hard, especially when it's hard." She looked down at her belly. "So I'm fighting. For her. Even if I have to do it alone." Byung-seok leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "You're not alone." The words hung in the air between them. "Why?" she asked. "Why do you care?" He was quiet for a long moment, then, "My mother was pregnant when my father's enemies came for him. She was alone, scared. No one helped her." His jaw tightened. She survived. Barely. But she never forgot what it felt like to fall with no one to catch her. Blanca's throat closed. "I was 6 when she told me that story." Byung-seok continued. "Made me promise that if I ever had power, I'd use it to make sure no woman ever felt that way again." He looked at her directly. "So that's why. Because I made a promise to a woman who deserved better. And so do you." The rain drummed against the windows. The tea went cold. Blanca believed him. While Blanca healed in the sky, Marcus's world cracked apart at the foundations. It started small. A declined credit card at dinner with his fiancé's parents. He laughed it off. Bank error, he said. He'd call in the morning. But morning brought more problems. His company car was gone, repossessed for irregularities in the lease agreement. His office access card stopped working. When he called his assistant, the number was disconnected. By noon, his fiancé's father, the senator, summoned him to a private office downtown. The old man's face was granite. "I've seen the photos, Marcus." The engagement was off by 12:15. Marcus tried calling his lawyer. The firm had dropped him. Conflict of interest, they said. New client took priority. He didn't need to ask who the new client was. That night, alone in his penthouse, Marcus poured expensive scotch with shaking hands. This was impossible. You didn't just dismantle someone's life in 3 days. You didn't. His phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Silence. Then a voice, low and cold. You should have signed the papers. The line went dead. Marcus threw the phone across the room. In the Obsidian's top floor, Seok ended the call and handed the phone back to one of his men. They stood in his private office, all glass and steel, the city sprawled below like a circuit board. The loans, he asked, transferred. We own everything he owes. The senator? Cooperative, especially after we showed him the footage. Seok nodded. And the fiancé? His second-in-command smiled. Saw the photos of Marcus with Blanca. Pregnant Blanca. The timeline didn't add up to the story he'd been telling. She made her own decision. Good. Seok moved to the window. Rain had stopped, leaving the city washed clean and glittering. He doesn't get to walk away from this, not from her, not from responsibility. What about the woman, Blanca? Seok's reflection in the glass was unreadable. What about her? Is she part of the plan or something else? He didn't answer right away. Finally, she's under my protection. That's all that matters. But they both knew it was more than that. Weeks turned into a quiet rhythm high above the city. Blanca's ruined emerald dress had been replaced the day after the fall. Seok sent someone to bring an entire wardrobe. Soft cashmere sweaters, silk blouses that draped over her belly, dresses in every shade of green he could find. Nothing tight, nothing cheap. Everything chosen like he'd studied her body without ever touching it. At first, she protested. This is too much. It's practical, he'd said. You need clothes. Not Valentino? Why not? She didn't have a good answer for that. One afternoon he found her in the sunlit living room, standing in front of the full-length mirror in a new dress. Deep forest green, long sleeves, fabric falling like water over her curves. She turned when she heard him, one hand resting on the swell of her stomach. It fits, she said, almost shy. He didn't answer right away, just looked at her the way he looked at everything, careful, measuring. Then he crossed the room and stopped just close enough that she could feel the heat coming off him. You look like life in a world that's mostly concrete and steel, he said quietly. Blanca's breath caught. He'd never said anything like that before. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small device, a fetal Doppler. The doctor left this. Thought you might want to hear. She nodded, throat tight. He motioned for her to sit on the wide leather couch. She did, and he knelt in front of her, movements smooth and unhurried. Gel on her skin, cold for a second, then the wand moving gently until the room filled with the fast, strong thunder of her baby's heartbeat. Seok went still, his eyes closed for a moment, the dragon tattoo shifting with the tilt of his head. When he opened them again, something raw flickered there. Strong, he murmured. Blanca reached out without thinking and brushed a strand of hair off his forehead. His skin was warm. He didn't pull away. The air between them changed. Not sudden, just inevitable. Like the city lights outside had been waiting for this moment to dim. They started spending evenings together. He'd come home because it was home now, even if neither of them said it, and find her curled on the couch with a book. He'd sit in the chair nearby working on his tablet, occasionally reading passages out loud when something struck him as important or beautiful. Listen to this, he'd say, and she'd look up and he'd read poetry or philosophy or sometimes just interesting news, his voice turning the words into something intimate. She'd cook sometimes, simple things from her childhood. Chicken fried steak, biscuits and gravy, peach cobbler. He ate everything she made like it was a revelation. Mama's recipe, she'd say, watching him take another bite. She taught you well. She taught me that food is love made visible. Blanca smiled, and that a man who appreciates good cooking appreciates good effort. Seok met her eyes. Joyce, I appreciate everything you do. The words felt heavier than they should. One night she woke from a nightmare, Marcus's hands shoving her, the endless fall, the baby's heartbeat stopping. She gasped, awake, clutching her belly, tears streaming. Byum Seok appeared in her doorway within seconds. No shirt, just sleep pants, hair mussed. He'd never looked more human. "You're safe," he said, crossing to her bed. "I dreamed—" "I know." He sat on the edge of the mattress. "Breathe with me." He counted out slow breaths until her heart stopped racing. Then he did something unexpected. He lay down on top of the covers beside her, not touching, just present. "I'm right here," he said into the dark. "Nothing's going to hurt you." She turned toward him. "Promise?" "Promise." She fell asleep with his breathing as her lullaby. By morning, he was gone. But the pillow still smelled like him. Marcus's world kept shrinking. The final blow came in a glass conference room on the 42nd floor, an urgent meeting with the new majority shareholder of his company. He'd spent the morning practicing excuses, smoothing his tie, telling himself he could still salvage things. He walked in confident. Byum Seok sat at the head of the table, black suit crisp, hands folded, alone. Marcus stopped dead. "You?" Byum Seok didn't speak, just pressed a button on the remote in front of him. The door behind Marcus opened. Blanca stepped in. 8.5 months pregnant now, radiant in emerald silk, hair loose and shining. She moved slowly, one hand on her lower back, but her eyes were steady on Marcus. He went white, stumbled back until his thighs hit a chair. You're supposed to be dead?" she finished softly. "No, just done begging." Marcus's mouth worked soundlessly. He looked at Byum Seok, then back at Blanca, panic rising. "This is kidnapping, assault, You'll what?" Byum Seok asked, voice calm. He slid a folder across the table. "Sign the termination of your parental rights. You wanted nothing to do with this child. Now it's official." Marcus stared at the document like it was poison. Byum Seok continued. "I own your debt. I own your company. I own the recording of you pushing a pregnant woman down my stairs." He tapped another button. The wall screen lit up. 4K footage. Marcus's face clear as day, hand shoving hard. The sound was on. You could hear Blanca's scream. The papers scattering. Marcus's muttered curse as he fled. Marcus made a broken sound. His knees buckled. He didn't fall, but it was close. Blanca watched him without pity. She thought of her parents, how her father had worked himself to exhaustion to provide, how her mother had stretched every dollar to make sure Blanca had what she needed. They'd loved with action, not words. Marcus had only ever loved himself. "You wanted me gone," she said. "Now I'm gone from your life, forever." "You can't." Byum Seok stood. The movement was smooth, controlled, but the threat was obvious. "Sign, or I release the footage. Let the world see what kind of man you really are." Marcus's hand shook as he picked up the pen. 30 seconds later, it was done. Security escorted him out 10 minutes later. He didn't fight. He'd already lost. In the elevator ride down, Blanca leaned against the wall, suddenly exhausted. Byum Seok's hand found hers. You okay?" he asked. She nodded. "Yeah, I think I am." For the first time in months, she meant it. 2 weeks later, Marcus sat in a dimly lit bar in the wrong part of town, nursing cheap whiskey. Everything was gone. Job, fiancé, accounts frozen, reputation shredded. But worse than losing everything was knowing who had taken it. He'd heard whispers. If you want someone handled quietly, talk to the Bayako crew. Chilsung's rivals. Dangerous men who didn't ask questions. He made the call. They listened. They took the last of his money, his mother's jewelry sold in desperation. They promised results. The storm hit on a Friday night. Rain lashed the penthouse windows, thunder rolling over the city like artillery. Blanca was restless, pacing the living room in a soft nightgown, unable to sleep. The baby had been kicking all day like she knew something was coming. Byum Seok stood at the glass, watching the storm. "Weather's bad," he said. Then the lights went out. Not the whole building, just their floor. Backup generators hummed, but the elevators locked down. Alarms stayed silent. Byum Seok's phone buzzed once. He read the message, face unreadable. "Stay here," he told her. He took a gun from a drawer, checked it with practiced ease. Blanca's heart started pounding. "What is it?" "Marcus." The first explosion was small. Service entrance. Then gunfire echoed from the stairwells. Beom-seok moved fast. He guided her to the panic room behind the library, but she refused to go in alone. "I'm not hiding while you fight." He looked at her for a long second. This woman from Texas who'd climbed stairs 8 months pregnant to fight for her child, who'd survived a fall that should have broken her, who cooked him peach cobbler and read poetry and made him believe in something softer than survival. Then nodded. They met the attackers in the grand foyer of the penthouse. Marble floors, high ceilings, rain visible through the wall of windows. 6 men in black tactical gear, Beko patches on their sleeves. Beom-seok didn't hesitate. Jacket off, sleeves rolled, tattoos fully visible now, dragon pointing over shoulders and chest, scales rendered in black and silver ink, breathing fire across his heart. He moved like violence was his native language. 2 went down fast, disarmed, unconscious. A third got a shot off that grazed Beom-seok's arm. Blood darkened the black shirt. Blanca stayed back, heart in her throat, until one of the attackers broke through. Big, masked. Gun raised toward Beom-seok's back while he fought the others. She didn't think. The pistol Beom-seok had left on the side table was suddenly in her hand. Heavy. Her arm shook, but she raised it anyway. She thought of her daddy teaching her to shoot cans off fence posts back in Texas. Steady breath, steady hands, protect what matters. "Drop it," she said. Voice steady even if nothing else was. The man turned, laughed behind the mask. She fired. The sound was deafening. The man dropped, clutching his legs, screaming. Beom-seok finished the rest in seconds, efficient, brutal, final. When it was over, through the penthouse smelled like gunpowder and rain. Bodies on the floor, some breathing, some not. Beom-seok's men arrived minutes later, cleanup already in motion. He walked to Blanca, took the gun gently from her shaking fingers, and pulled her against him. Blood on his shirt, but his arms were steady. "You saved me," he said against her hair. She clung to him, the baby moving between them like a reminder of what they were protecting. "We save each other." He pulled back just enough to cup her face. Rain streaked the windows behind them. His thumb brushed her cheek. Then he kissed her. Soft at first. Testing. When she kissed back, fierce and certain, he deepened it, one hand sliding into her hair, the other spreading across her lower back, careful of the baby between them. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against hers. "I'm falling for you," he said. "Have been since I caught you on those stairs." Blanca laughed, breathless. "Took you long enough to say it. Took me long enough to believe I deserved it. We both deserve it." She kissed him again, softer. "We both deserve to be caught." Outside, lightning split the sky. Inside, 2 broken people held each other and chose to be whole. Marcus was arrested 3 days later, alive, talking too much, trying to cut a deal. The recording, the hit, the assault, all of it buried him. The trial was swift. Money couldn't save him this time. Beom-seok made sure of it. Life sentence, no parole. Blanca didn't attend the sentencing. She was busy preparing a nursery, painting soft yellow walls, hanging tiny clothes. Beom-seok had turned one of the spare rooms into a haven. Hand-carved crib from Italy, a rocking chair that had belonged to his mother, shelves waiting for books and toys and all the small signs of life. When the verdict came through, he told her simply, "It's done." She nodded, felt nothing but relief. "Good. Do you want to know the details?" "No." She touched his face. "I just want to move forward. With you. With her." He turned his head, kissed her palm. "Then that's what we'll do." Spring came early that year. In a private room overlooking the Hun River, Blanca gave birth to a girl, dark curls already showing, lungs strong from the start. She came into the world screaming, indignant, alive. Beom-seok was there the whole time. Didn't leave. Held Blanca's hand through every contraction, whispered encouragement in Korean and English, cut the cord himself when the doctor offered. Later, in the quiet after, he sat in the rocking chair holding the baby wrapped in a soft white blanket. The little girl slept against his chest, tiny fist curled near the edge of his dragon tattoo, like she was already claiming him. Blanca watched from the bed, exhausted and radiant. Her hair was damp with sweat, her body aching, but she'd never felt more powerful. She'd done this. Survived the fall, survived Marcus, survived the fear, and she'd brought this perfect little life into the world. "What do we name her?" Beom-seok asked, looking up. Blanca smiled, slow and sure. She thought of her mother, strong, stubborn, full of grace. She thought of herself, the girl from Texas who'd refused to break. She thought of this man who'd caught her and never let go. "Hope," she said. "Hope Elena Kim." Beom-seok's eyes went bright. He looked down at the baby, this tiny thing he'd already died for, and nodded. "Hope," he repeated. "Perfect." The baby stirred, made a small sound. Beom-seok stood carefully and brought her to Blanca, settling them both with practiced gentleness. Hope latched on immediately, and Blanca laughed through sudden tears. "She knows what she wants," Beom-seok said. "Gets it from her mama," Blanca replied. He sat on the edge of the bed, one hand on Blanca's knee, the other brushing Hope's dark hair. "She gets the best of both of you." "Both of us," Blanca corrected softly. "You're her father. In every way that matters." His throat worked. "I haven't earned that yet." "You earned it the second you caught me on those stairs. You earned it every day you protected us, or every moment you chose us." She reached for his hand. "Family isn't just blood, Beom-seok. It's who shows up, who stays, who loves you even when it's hard." He kissed her then, gentle, reverent, full of promise. Hope slept between them, oblivious to the magnitude of the moment, but someday they'd tell her. Someday she'd know the story of how her mother fell and her father caught her, and how from that moment everything changed. The penthouse terrace was strung with lights, warm and golden against the cooling autumn air. Hope toddled across the tiles, chasing bubbles that Beom-seok's mother blew for her, giggling every time one popped. She was walking early, stubborn and determined, just like her mother. Blanca stood at the railing, watching the city lights flicker on as dusk settled. She wore emerald green, always emerald green now. See Beom-seok's favorite color on her. 1 year since the fall, 1 year since everything changed. Arms wrapped around her from behind. Beom-seok's chin rested on her shoulder, his warmth seeping into her back. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "How far we've come." She leaned back against him. "A year ago, I thought my life was over. Thought I'd be raising her alone, struggling, always looking over my shoulder. And now? Now I'm home." He turned her in his arms, looked down at her with those dark eyes that had seen too much but chose to see her anyway. "You gave me something I didn't know I needed," he said. "Purpose beyond power, family beyond blood, love beyond survival." She touched his face, traced the edge of the dragon tattoo that had become as familiar as her own reflection. "You gave me safety. And more than that, you gave me strength, showed me I could fall and still fly." Hope squealed as another bubble popped. Beom-seok's mother scooped her up, both of them laughing. The older woman had arrived from Seoul 2 months after Hope was born, taken one look at her son's eyes when he held the baby, and known. She'd been their fiercest protector ever since, teaching Blanca Korean recipes and telling stories of Beom-seok as a boy. Family grew in unexpected ways. Beom-seok pulled a small box from his pocket. Black velvet. He didn't kneel. They were past that kind of formality. Just opened it, showed her the ring inside. Emerald center stone, diamonds catching the light. "Marry me," he said. Not a question. A statement of fact. A promise already made, just waiting to be official. Blanca's eyes filled. Yes. He slid the ring on her finger. It fit perfectly. Of course it did. He'd been watching, measuring, knowing her without her realizing. They kissed as the city sparkled below, as Hope laughed behind them, as the autumn wind carried the scent of new beginnings, from fall to flight, from broken to whole, from alone to together. This was how love worked in the shadows and the light. Messy, dangerous, real. You fell. Someone caught you. And if you were very, very lucky, you built something beautiful from the pieces. Outside, the city moved on. Concrete and steel, shadows and light. But up here, in this moment, there was only the sound of Hope's laughter, the warmth of Byom-seok's arms, and the certain knowledge that some falls are worth it. Because they lead you exactly where you're meant to be. So there you have it, Blanca's fall, Byom-seok's rise, and the love story that grew from the ashes of betrayal. This is the kind of romance that doesn't apologize for being intense, doesn't shy away from the darkness, and always, always gives you that satisfaction of watching the villain get what's coming to him. If you love this story, I need you to do 3 things. First, smash that subscribe button, because this is just the beginning. I've got more dark romance, more powerful protectors, more women who refuse to stay down coming your way, and you don't want to miss a single one. Second, drop a comment below. Tell me, Team Byom-seok or Team Run for the Hills? Would you have trusted him? Would you have stayed? And most importantly, where are you watching from? I want to shout out every single one of you because knowing this story reached you, wherever you are in the world, it gives me life. Third, share this. If you have that friend who lives for the morally gray man, the protective obsession, the fall into my arms and I'll destroy your enemies vibe, send this their way. They'll thank you. I'll thank you. Heck, Byom-seok might even thank you. Remember, you're not just watching a story unfold. You're part of this journey. Every view, every like, every comment tells me what you want more of, and I'm here to deliver. So buckle up. Because if you think this was intense, just wait until you see what's coming next. Until then, stay safe, stay fierce, and never apologize for falling for the dangerous ones. Welcome to the family. Let's rise together.